intermittent fasting and low carb? Can somebody get me a sandwich? Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today's video, we'll be taking a look at nutritionist and YouTuber Autumn Bates. But first, let me tell you about my sponsor, Build Bar. Snack lovers, you are gonna love this news because if you have yet to find a protein bar that doesn't taste like chalk, listen to me here, folks. Build Bar. So good. It tastes like a chocolate bar and a nugget bar had a baby, and I am here for it. Ooh, I'm excited for snack time. Today's flavor. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I got one left because they're a favorite. Peanut butter brownie. Two of my favorite things in one. How could it be bad, really? She is dense. 19 grams of protein. What? All right, I love these as like a really light snack all on their own, but I also love to pair them with some fruit or oatmeal or yogurt or like a smoothie for a more balanced, substantial snack. But if you want to try out Built Bar yourself, check out the link in the description and you can use my promo code AbbeySharp15 to get 15% off of your order. And folks, you can pause the screen or look at the description to check out my disclaimer, including a trigger warning to those with current or previous experiences with disordered eating. As always, feel free to skip this video if it's not supportive to your journey. And of course, if you guys are new here, do not forget to subscribe to this channel, ring that little bell so you never miss out, and follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Abby's Kitchen. Okie dokie. For those who don't know, Autumn is a wellness YouTuber who's focused much of her career on touting the benefits of intermittent fasting. She offers lots of free content on her YouTube channel and social media, as well as having a number of paid for programs like her 7-day detox and her 21-day intermittent fasting program, which she references a lot in said free YouTube content. So I actually took one for the team here and paid the $49 for her 21-day program to get a little extra look at some of her supporting documents, but I will be focusing on her latest what I eat in a day at the time of filming, because there's a lot to unpack in that alone. Let's take a look.
So during my fast, I always have water right when I wake up. And I also add sea salt as well. This helps to make sure that my energy levels stay high because a lot of salt and water gets lost when you are fasting. And first thing in the morning, I'll have like an 1/8 teaspoon, a 1/4 teaspoon, depending on how tough my workout was.
Okay. So while the research in this area is really not great, it is possible that electrolyte balance can get thrown off by food deprivation or fasting because you're not taking in any food with electrolytes for one, and the drop in insulin can also increase water loss. So if you're feeling some of the symptoms of hyponatremia like headaches, lightheadedness, fatigue, nausea, and muscle cramps, it's definitely worth seeing if adding a little sodium can help. Now in Autumn's ebook, she says that experts suggest you may need up to 5 grams a day when you're fasting, but I have actually not found any evidence of that, and I looked. And funny enough, she didn't link to a citation for that one either. So I would say, unless you're Michael Phelpsing your workout, I'm not convinced that you need to replenish that much.
And interestingly enough, there have actually been studies of low salt diets and how those are actually related to increased insulin resistance.
Okay, so the citation she did share in this video, which touted a pretty scary title about a low salt diet causing insulin resistance in healthy individuals, was honestly not a great study at all.
I expected it to be, pretty bad, but this is really bad.
I'm not gonna get too into it, but the actual difference between the low salt and the high salt groups was pretty dismal. And the only likely reason their result yielded any significance was because they had a large enough sample. Sodium research is complicated as and there's now a lot of debate around the methods used to suggest that lower levels of sodium intake may be just as dangerous as higher amounts. This would need a whole other video if you'd like. What I'm trying to say here is that sometimes a single study headline doesn't tell you a whole lot. You really need to read the findings and the body of research to be able to form an unbiased, educated stance. Just putting it out there.
Now, in a totally fasted state, I go for a walk. I make sure to get in about 20 to 30 minutes. This helps to ramp up the fat burning mechanisms because it is a lower intensity exercise, and it helps to warm up my muscles for my strength training workouts. When your muscles are actually challenged with some type of weight training or resistance training, it helps to improve insulin sensitivity, making it easier to burn fat as fuel.
So that's not untrue. All exercise will improve insulin sensitivity, and fasted cardio and resistance training does seem to allow you to utilize more fat as fuel. But this doesn't necessarily result in a budge on the scale. Basically, I would say this is a short-sighted approach. If working out fasted results in a shorter or lower intensity workout, you're going to burn fewer net calories overall. We also have evidence that it can eat into protein stores, especially if you're going to continue to fast for the hours before and after you train, which it seems that Autumn does. Not to mention, having some fuel on board or immediately after training isn't absolutely necessary, but it will help you take advantage of the anabolic sensitivity around this time. So ideally, if you're working out fasted in the morning, you'll want to have a meal with carbs and protein as soon as you realistically can afterwards.
From here, center around 8 a.m. when I'm going to have my coffee. Once I have my coffee, I'm transitioning more into what's called fasting mimicking. Grass-fed butter, which is huge, super important to make sure you're using grass-fed butter. Grass-fed butter is rich in a short-chain fatty acid called butyric acid, which is really great for decreasing inflammation in the GI tract. I've had a huge history of gut inflammation and gut bloating in the past, and this has really helped, obviously paired with the gut healing aspect of intermittent fasting. So I'll blend in about a tablespoon's worth of grass-fed butter into my coffee, as well as some coconut oil.
Okay, so we've discussed this a bit with our friend Jillian Michaels, but what Autumn is suggesting is that keto coffee will technically kick you out of your fast, but it won't kick you out of ketosis because you aren't consuming enough carbs or protein to stimulate an insulin response. So you're still getting some of the alleged benefits of fasting, like suppressed insulin levels with a little bit of calories and fuel, but you're halting the gut healing benefits she mentioned, aka the migratory motor complex, or MMC. So I mentioned the MMC when I discussed my SIBO saga, but most experts suggest you want to aim for at least one 4 to 5 hour break between meals in the day, and the rest can be closer to maybe 2 to 3 hours with a 12-hour fast or so overnight. You don't necessarily have to stretch it to like 16 hours, especially if you're only having 3 solid meals with breaks in between in the day. Also, I just gotta say, like, if she likes butter and coconut oil in her coffee, great. You guys know I don't harp on coffee preferences. But if the obsession over the butter is for adding butyric acid for gut health, it's probably not your best bet. Yes, we know that butter is our best dietary source of butyrate, which is a short-chain fatty acid in the gut with a number of documented health benefits for gut health and metabolism, but butter is only 3 to 4% butyrate. And while we don't have strong data comparing conventional to grass-fed butter, it's assumed that grass-fed may only be slightly higher than this. Even if grass-fed did have more butyrate, we'd still be like splitting hairs here because the vast majority of the butyric acid in our diet comes from gut bacteria fermenting fiber. So if you want more butyrate in your gut, focus on fiber and resistant starch, not the minute amounts that you'd find in a spoonful of fat. Ditto for using coconut oil for medium chain triglycerides, which are uniquely metabolized fats known for their mild fat burning properties. But most of the research on the benefits of MCTs have been done on pure 100% MCT oil, not coconut oil, which is kind of a cocktail of fats made of only 50% MCT. Now, I have a review of all things saturated fats, including coconut oil, which you can check out in my video right here.
So I'll use about a half serving of each of these, like a half serving of Greek yogurt, so about a half cup, and then a half serving of protein powder. That way you can can't speak. That way you can get that vanilla-y flavor from the protein powder, but still getting the creaminess of the Greek yogurt and that extra vitamin K2 to help get the calcium out of your arteries and into your bones.
Okay, so this is true. K2 is an important nutrient for bone and heart health because if we imagine calcium as the currency that goes into the bone bank, it has to flow through the blood vessels before it can go into your bones. Vitamin K2 is kind of like the bank teller that draws the calcium out of the bloodstream and deposits the calcium paycheck into the bones. And this is really key for our heart health as well, because calcification of our arteries is a risk factor for heart disease. Now, vitamin K2 is mainly found in animal products like dairy and meat. And while Autumn claims you can only get it if the dairy comes from grass-fed cows, research that tested almost 150 dairy samples didn't even test or differentiate grass-fed products. Yet, they still found K2 across the board. What actually matters more than the bougie grass-fed label is the fat percentage, since vitamin K2 is a fat-soluble vitamin, and the research suggests that low or no fat dairy has just 5% of the K2 of full fat. This is something that Autumn doesn't even mention in her ebook from what I could see, and seeing as most people can't access grass-fed dairy because it's expensive or harder to find, I feel like this is a missed opportunity to educate inclusively.
That I slightly reduced the amount of sugar. So in this, we're now using about a 1/4 cup of blueberries and removing the half banana. It actually still is pretty sweet, especially if you're using protein powder. But with this newest update to the 21-day intermittent fasting program, I slightly adjusted some of the recipes to make them better suited for your goals. And considering there's so many people who are carbohydrate sensitive, I mean, what is it, like 100 million Americans have prediabetes or diabetes. So it's like 1 out of every 3 Americans. Making a smoothie that still tastes great but doesn't have so much sugar in it is really helpful for all of us. We also have 2 tablespoons of coconut butter that's going to provide the high quality fat to keep you satiated, a tablespoon of hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are actually a great plant-based protein source of complete protein, not to mention high quality fat source as well, and then a tablespoon of chia seeds. I just love using chia seeds in pretty much all of my smoothies because it has so much fiber in it, so you really get that extra fiber component in there too.
Okay, lots to unpack here. First of all, this smoothie looks delicious. We have a good amount of calories. We've got fiber, healthy fats, and protein, all the different seeds and the coconut oil and the protein powder and the Greek yogurt, but it's very low carb with like a measly 1/4 cup of berries. And while she mentions at one point that the recipe used to have half a banana in there, she said that she cut that out because of so many Americans having diabetes.
We have a problem.
What? Oh, this is so problematic and misinformed. Folks, even if you have diabetes, you can have carbs. You can have a banana. And if you're putting the banana in a smoothie like this, which pairs it with tons of healthy fats and protein and fiber, I really see zero cause for concern.
Nobody freak out.
Any blood sugar response is going to be buffered by all of those hunger-crushing compounds. And I mean, I don't even think she has diabetes, so this makes even less sense, especially as a post-workout meal where we know ideally we want a 1-to-3 ratio of protein to carbs. I just kind of feel like she misunderstood the assignment.
And then while I'm blending up my smoothie, I'll have my Acv Sipper, which is a recipe also from the 21-day intermittent fasting program. It's a diluted apple cider vinegar to help ease the transition from a fasted to a fed state.
So I understand the rationale for the apple cider vinegar sipper, since we do have research that vinegar may help to reduce the blood sugar and insulin response and temporarily increase subjective satiety. And in her ebook, she does remind people that this is a tool, not a magic bullet. It's not going to undo the insulin spiking effects of like a massive cookie binge, and she says this herself, which I really appreciate. And while we don't have direct evidence that it can help ease the transition from fast to fed state, I can see the line of thinking here because she's trying to kind of keep that first insulin bump of the day as controlled as possible. But in real life, the evidence suggests that our insulin levels are pretty tightly regulated and controlled in healthy individuals. So this is a non-issue for her in my books. Having said that, if she likes the sipper and it feels good to her and it doesn't seem to like erode her teeth or upset her stomach as it does for a lot of us, then hey, like I say sip away. You go, girl.
For this recipe, I'm using 3 eggs, which will amount to about 18 grams worth of protein. I try and aim to have about 25 grams of protein per each meal just for my own goals. So just having 3 eggs is a little bit low for my protein needs. So for this recipe, instead of the avocado, I'm going to be swapping that out for a little bit of a high quality grass-fed cheese. So instead I can get the fat, but also a little bit of protein to add on to the eggs with the cheese. And then for a fiber component, I'm using about a cup of spinach. Meal will typically be around 2:30 p.m.
Again, This looks delicious. And I love that we've got a solid amount of fiber, protein, and fat. But again, where are the carbs? Intermittent fasting is restrictive enough for most people. So we also layer in low carb, like most people would find it really hard to feel emotionally satisfied. Like, folks, let's not burn the candle at both ends.
I don't snack between meals. This is so crucial to make sure that you're still getting the gut healing benefits. And if you're having difficulties losing weight, getting more of those breaks between meals can help the body to more easily shift back into fat burning.
Yes, and probably not. Yes, for folks who have compromised guts, like those of us with a history of SIBO, for whom stimulating that migratory motor complex is really super key, we do want to try to give our bodies a solid few hours between meals. Most healthy guts don't have to be so deliberate about it, since the MMC only takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete. But yes, if she has a history of functional gut disorders, trying to space out meals and snacks does have merit. As for fat burning, theoretically, yes, but in practice, not a big deal. As I discussed in my video on intermittent fasting and insulin here, insulin is a fat storage hormone on paper, but in real life, it doesn't seem to have a huge impact on weight gain or loss when at energy balance. It doesn't like cheat the dieting system, so to speak. And we know this because when the calorie deficit is the same, folks with and without diabetes or insulin resistance will lose about the same amount of weight. So while a higher carb or like a grazing diet does transiently increase insulin levels, which kind of boots you out of that fat burning mode, it doesn't seem to affect weight without like a caloric surplus or deficit. We're kind of splitting hairs here. Again, let's think big picture.
So my last meal of the day for tonight is going to be my pumpkin chili. It's extremely simple, and also the protein component is really versatile.
This looks delicious, but surprise, surprise, still keeping it low carb over here.
I mean, I'm shocked.
And if this like lights up her life, great. I just know that even if I ate like a huge bowl of that chili, I would not be able to go to bed feeling satisfied. I would absolutely find myself craving carbs in the several hours from 7:30 p.m. to whenever she goes to bed, and like immediately upon waking. And that's why I don't love intermittent fasting for a lot of people. In fact, we can talk about the insulin suppressing and the growth hormone stimulating benefits all we want. But as I discussed in my intermittent fasting video right here, the effects that these factors have on a healthy body are actually really small. Evidence suggests that small natural variations in human growth hormone have little to no effect on weight loss. And insulin levels are tightly regulated in healthy people, so they don't really have a huge impact on weight loss either. And most of the insulin benefits in fasting occurs when you front load your carbs in the morning and then cut off eating by midday. But Autumn, like most fasters, aren't doing early time restricted eating. So she's not actually really getting the benefits that she obsesses over in every video. And yet these two things are often touted as the secret to why intermittent fasting is different. When in reality, if we just eat fewer meals, we tend to actually eat less. We're just kind of bad at making up for missed calories. That, my friends, is ultimately what results in weight loss. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Autumn worked out like 3 times in the day and ate under 1,700 calories, only 27% of which were carbs. I would also lose weight or maintain a very lean body composition if I kept my glycogen stores depleted and was in a chronic caloric deficit like that. I gotta say, like, I bought Autumn's ebook, and while I appreciate that there were 34 studies cited, which is a lot more than most wellness influencers would cite, she seems to overlook a lot of key studies that would refute or downplay her position. And ultimately, I feel like a lot of it is missing the forest from the trees for most people. Intermittent fasting isn't the holy grail to health. It's a tool in the toolbox that works for some people because we suck at making up for the calories when we skip a meal. In some people, it actually results in weight gain, and in extreme cases, it may be dangerous for hormones. So it's not benign, and it's not appropriate for a lot of people. I think ultimately, if you feel good eating on a particular regimented schedule, then whatever. Like, it makes sense for you to continue to eat that way. Autumn should feel empowered to eat low carb and to fast because it seems to work for her. But when an influencer recommends a singular way of eating to others and monetizes a how-to program on it to the public, then I just expect them to be transparent. And based on everything I've shared, I'm not convinced by the one-sided data consistently cited and shared. Now, to throw Autumn a bone, I will say that I think Autumn does offer a ton of great recommendations and tips for newbie and advanced intermittent fasters. So if this is a way of eating that works for you and you enjoy, definitely check that out. But I do think the low carb recipes and the fasting regimen would be a bit of a hard pill for most to swallow. But on that note, that is all that I have for you guys today. Thanks again to Built Bar for sponsoring. If you like this video, be sure to give it the thumbs up. Leave me a comment below on who you'd like to see me review next. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye!